All right, so here we have the AKG N400NC versus the Soundpeats Mini Pro. So we're here to see which is the better of the two and which one might be the better one for you specifically, because these aren't exactly the same and they sort of bring different sets of features, but also very different sound quality between the two of these. So if anybody's interested in picking these up, make sure you check out the links in the description below because I will be leaving links to both for anybody who wants to pick either of these up. So first up, let's start off with their connection. So let's start with the connection here. And for connectivity, I'm going to go ahead and give the win here to the Soundpeats Mini Pro. This is obviously the newer of the two, so you're going to get a more advanced chipset, I would say. So right now you're running Bluetooth 5.2 on the Soundpeats versus Bluetooth 5 on the AKG. Not a huge difference, but there is a bit of power savings with going with the newer chipset. Also, when it comes to connection codecs, the AKGs, they're going to give you SBC and AAC. So I'm not seeing any aptX, any LDAC, or any of the other high-res codecs. With the Soundpeats Mini Pro, you do get SBC, AAC, and aptX adaptive. So you do have that on there as well. Then thirdly, we have single usage mode. Now, both of these have a version of single usage mode. With the Soundpeats, you can use each earbud individually while the other is charging in the case, so it works on both sides. With the AKGs, single usage mode only works on the right side, so you can't use the left one by itself. So a little bit janky in my personal opinion. It would have been dope if they would have done both sides, but I mean, it just depends on your own personal use case. Some people never do single use mode, so it probably is not a deal breaker, but that was something that was a bit surprising for me on an earbud that retailed for about 150 bucks. So yeah, just something to keep in mind, but that's kind of a drawback there in my personal opinion. And then beyond that, we also have less overall latency. So if you want to use these earbuds for mobile gaming, you're going to get less latency with the Soundpeats Mini Pro. They are running aptX adaptive. They do have a gaming mode built into them that they're claiming drops the latency down to 60 milliseconds. So overall, it's actually a very noticeable improvement. But there's a noticeable difference here. If you're just going to be watching videos and things like that with the AKG is not an issue. But when it comes to mobile gaming, then yeah, the Soundpeats are definitely going to be the way that you want to roll between those two. Now, let's move over to the battery life and the case. So basically, for me, the case itself, or at least let's start with battery. Let's start with battery. So when it comes to the battery, Soundpeats are going to take the win. It's not by much. So in my own testing, I was able to get about half hour to 45 minutes more playback time on the Soundpeats than I was on the AKGs. So it isn't a huge difference. You know, we're talking about a little over 6 hours. This one's like a little bit over 5 hours. So not a huge, massive difference between battery life on these two earbuds. And that's in both modes. That's both with noise canceling on and with noise canceling off. So not a huge difference there, but a win is a win. You know, whether it's by an inch or a mile, a win is a win. Um, secondly, the Mini Pro case is way smaller. So it's like it's way smaller. So if you can see that yourself, it is. I mean, that's a very noticeable difference there. So it is much more pocketable. This case here is actually smaller than that of the Apple AirPods Pro. So for people who want that sort of a size comparison, it is actually smaller than the AirPods cases, which is pretty it's pretty amazing if you ask me. And then the earbuds themselves, let's go ahead and take them out real quick. We'll pull each right side out so you can sort of see the difference size-wise. There we go. So there's the difference here. So AKGs are definitely a bit bigger. So as you can see, I got Spinfit tips on both here. Now, the AKGs are using similar to what we got with the Galaxy Buds and the Galaxy Buds Plus. You have that sort of wingtip kind of design that kind of keeps them in place. So they got excellent grip, good comfort as well. So overall, very good. But as you can see, the size-wise there is a big difference when it comes to the actual size. But aside from that, I mean, the case quality itself and build quality, put it this way. So the actual build quality of both the case and the earbuds, the AKG, the build quality on this case, there's no argument here. The case is so much better built than the Soundpeats. Like you feel like you're getting something quality. It's got some weight to it. It's got some heft to it. This is straight up plastic. This is, I believe it's aluminum because it actually feels like metal. Really satisfying snap shut when you close it. Even the earbuds themselves feel like they have a higher build quality overall, but that's to be expected, especially on something that's coming in at a higher price. Obviously, we're going to be getting better materials, at least we would hope we're getting some better materials here when it comes to build quality. So for overall battery life and the case, I would give it to Soundpeats. For build quality, I'm going to give it to AKG for sure. And then when we move over to comfort, now comfort is going to be highly subjective. So, and what I mean by that is all of our ears are different. All of our use cases are different, right? So, some people want earbuds to sleep in. Some people want earbuds to work out in. Some people just want to have earbuds on when they're at work and keep one in. So, it's a very different use case for everybody. Plus, all our ears are shaped differently. So, I can only base this on my own personal, personal usage. And as far as comfort, I'm going to give the win here over to the Soundpeats. It's a smaller earbud, much lighter, so you can feel the difference in your ear when you're wearing it. So it's definitely something that's going to be more suited to more people's use cases, in my personal opinion. Whether you want to sleep with them, whether you want to work out on them, if you just want to rock them, whatever you want to do, overall, it's going to be the better of the two for those type of use cases. Also smaller, so for people who want to sleep in them, it's not going to be a problem. So you have that there. For me, comfort overall win is going to go to the Soundpeats. Now, not to say that these AKGs aren't comfortable, because they're not. They're actually quite comfortable. But it's just one of those things where the smaller earbud here is usually going to end up taking the win, at least in my opinion, when it comes to overall earbud comfort. So, and then moving over to app support. Now, so the Soundpeats, they don't have app support. And if you're interested in my full review of the Soundpeats Mini Pro, I'll leave a link for that in the description if anybody who is interested. I don't have it in there right now, but it will be in there by the time this replay goes live. So the Soundpeats don't have app support. Not that they don't have an app. Soundpeats has an app, but they're just not supporting the Mini Pro for whatever reason. AKG, thankfully, the AKG earbuds actually do have an app. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these open, and we'll go ahead and open up the app. Let's see here. Let's go back here. So AKG, it's the AKG headphones app. So let's go ahead and pop that open. This guy should be paired up already. Let's give it a sec here so I can find them. It usually takes it a sec and then it kind of get going. All right, there we go. So there's your AKG N400s right there on the app. And then you've got some settings here. Obviously, play pause. So if you want to have the ear detection, if you want auto turn off, there's gesture control where you can adjust the swipe controls to do different things, ambient aware, talk through. So you have those different options there. Back out of there. ANC tuning, if you want to do some adjustment of the active noise cancellation, there's a Find My Buds. And then in here, you have your actual listening modes. So noise control, noise canceling, your talk through, and your ambient aware. Ambient aware, that's basically your full ambient. Talk through is sort of like a almost like a vocal mode for the ambient. So it'll reduce the background noise and just kind of focus on voices. So sort of that's exactly what that's for. And then obviously you have your active noise cancellation. And then here we have EQ. So you can actually have it on neutral, or if you want to actually make your own and kind of make some adjustments to it, you can totally go in there and then make some adjustments. Like I give it a little bit of a mid-range bump right there, but just to go through, and you can actually add your own presets. So you have the option there, but at least you're getting something whereas with these Soundpeats, you're kind of not getting any sort of app support when it comes to that. So that's something just to keep in mind there. So app support with the AKG. So AKG kind of gets the win there by default because they actually offer it. Whereas, unfortunately, Soundpeats is not supporting the Mini Pro with an app at this time. Not to say they couldn't do so in the future. We never know. You never know. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I'm not gonna hold my breath, but let's keep our fingers crossed. All right. So now let's move over to the performance. So straight up performance. All right. Back to the desk cam. So first up, we're going to talk about the ambient modes here. So for ambient mode, I'm going to give the win here to the AKG N400NC. They do have, like I said, a dual mode ambient. So you have one that focuses on voices, then you have one that brings in all the surrounding noise. It's nice to have both options. Options are really nice. Soundpeats ambient mode is okay. It's good enough and very useful. It does drown out some of the background noise to focus on voices, but it's nowhere near as good as what AKG is doing with theirs. So AKG here is going to take the win for the ambient mode. Now, when we talk about active noise cancellation, now the ANC on the Soundpeats Mini Pro is strong. It's surprisingly good for an earbud of this price, but the AKGs are bringing premium noise cancellation power. So these are much stronger. You're also getting slightly better passive noise isolation with the AKGs. So the effect is much more noticeable when you activate ANC here versus activating the ANC with the Soundpeats. So it is a noticeable difference between the two. So something to keep in mind. Now, both obviously can be improved by the use of memory foam ear tips. If you wanted to add more passive noise isolation to both, that is an option for you. But for noise cancellation, the win here is going to go to AKG. So ambient ANC, AKG is going to take the win there. Now, moving over to volume. So when we're talking about volume, in my measurements, the Soundpeats got 109.9 peak decibels of volume. So these get quite loud. The AKGs managed to get 104.1. So they're still loud and more than loud enough for me, but they're not as loud as what you're getting with the Soundpeats. So just something to kind of put that into perspective. Um both of them are going to get more than loud enough. But if you're somebody who is hard of hearing, or maybe you need a bit more volume for whatever reason, obviously the Soundpeats are going to give you more headroom there, so you can have the ability to really dial it in to your own listening preferences, so to speak. But for volume, Soundpeats are definitely going to take the win here. And now, when it comes to sound quality, this is going to be where it gets a little more nuanced, because it's really going to come down to what you prefer with your sound quality. So let's start here with the Soundpeats. So when it comes to sound quality, the Soundpeats are going to give you what I had referred to as a very dynamic sound, but with a wide soundstage. So you're still going to get this nice, strong, impactful bass, super punchy, good sub bass rumble. You can really feel it. Smooth mid range. You get some nice bright treble, but nothing fatiguing, nothing of that nature. But you still somehow manage to maintain a wide soundstage, which was really, really surprising. Even a bit of airiness in the sound with certain songs. This is what really impressed me, because you kind of got the best of both worlds. You got that strong bass that some of the bass heads, like my homies in the bass head crew, want to listen to, but you still got a wide soundstage and some airiness in the sound, which made these really, really good. Now, moving over to AKG. Now, AKGs, the tuning is exceptional. I don't want to mince words here. The tuning on these AKGs is exceptional. It is super well balanced. They still can bring some nice strong bass when needed, but it isn't bloated. It isn't overly extended. It comes in much more accurate. It has a quick punch and it gets out quickly. The mid range on these is really smooth, nice and rich. So it comes in very, very well. Both female and male vocals are excellent here. And then moving over to the treble, you're getting a nice bit of treble here, but once again, it's not harsh, it's not fatiguing. So on top of that, you're also going to get a bit more detail in the sound. You're also going to get a wider soundstage. So this is closer to your more neutral balanced, more audiophile type of sound versus the Soundpeats, which are giving you more slightly on the bass head side of tuning. So this is what I mean by there being a nuance here, because these are two different flavors, right? So we have two different flavors of sound. If you are more into bass, if you want more impactful bass in your music, then the Soundpeats are going to be the one that you want to choose. But if you want something more neutral tuned, so something with that still brings you the bass, still brings you the mids and everything else, but it's much more balanced and has much more, detail and a bit wider stage, then the AKGs are going to be the way to go. So just to keep it clear, just to keep things very clear, I still believe that the Soundpeats are the best value for under 50 bucks, but because of everything they're bringing and all the features that they have, but that doesn't mean that these N400NCs are bad at all. They are excellent, but they're just not. We're not talking about two of the same thing, because the sound quality is so different on both of these. So it really just comes down to what what features you need and what type of sound you personally prefer. That's the biggest difference right there. So really comes down to that. If you want more bass, go with Soundpeats. If you want more neutrality, you go with AKG. So that's the bottom line right there. But I hope that will help some of you make that purchasing decision. If anyone is interested in checking out my complete review of the Soundpeats Mini Pro, check out the video that I'm gonna leave for you right up here on the screen. That's it, man.